The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Arrington, to inquire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me dive right in on the drug addiction and the illicit drug epidemic we have in our country right now. It boggles the mind what's happening and what our nation and the people's government is doing or not doing to stop a major contributing factor to this epidemic in our country. We have lost last year 100,000 Americans to drug overdose. The leading cause of death for Americans age 18 to 45 is a drug overdose, mainly fentanyl, which is 2/3 of the contributing drug to the overdose. And 100% of those drugs are coming from across the border. The 100,000 people who have lost their lives in our country, our fellow Americans, is a 50% increase over the last year. The fentanyl seized at the border is up over 130%. We're losing a generation of Americans to this epidemic. And we're seeing record volumes, increasing exponential volumes of drugs continuing to flow into our neighborhoods and to kill our fellow Americans and our family members. And we're seeing nothing stopping the drug cartels who control the border from pushing this product onto our citizens. I'm going to ask every witness to answer this directly and succinctly with a yes or no. Is this dynamic of drug cartels in control of our border, pushing record volumes of drugs, a major factor in the drug epidemic and the overdoses that are at record highs in the United States of America? And so I will start from the very top. I'd like to hear from these experts as to whether or not it concerns them. So does it concern you? Is it a contributing factor on the supply side? At a minimum, yes or no? Dr. Jonathan Metzl, yes or no?
That is not a yes or no question. Certainly, of course.
Okay, let's go to no, Dr. Metzl, thank you. It is a yes or no question. I'm not saying there aren't other factors. I'm not saying there aren't more complicated and nuanced discussions to have. But is the border wide open, pouring drugs that are killing Americans at rates that defy logic because of our ability to stop it concern you? Yes or no? Is it a concern?
Certainly, supply side is a major aspect of addiction. I would certainly agree with that.
And not to be rude, thank you. We're going to move on. Dr. Edwin Chapman, you're a physician. Is it a concern what's happening at our southern border? It's one factor, but is it a big one? And are you concerned, yes or no?
I think it's a chicken and egg phenomenon. I grew up in Gary, Indiana in the 60s, and we didn't have this problem until the steel mills closed, and then the city.
Are you concerned,
went down.
Mr. Chapman, does the open border concern you and the drugs flowing across the border via the drug cartels that are in control of the border? Does that concern you?
We have new synthetics now.
The synthetics are coming from China, and the synthetics are coming from China, Mr. Chairman, and they're part of the input to making this manufactured product. It's being laced with the marijuana that kids are taking up in the Northeast, killing teenagers. This is a big deal. The fact that, and look, I respect these witnesses, and I know they care about this, but the fact that they can't just say yes, what's happening at the border and all of the volume of drugs that are coming from across the border by the cartels with aiding and abetting by Chinese synthetic materials is I just can't believe it. I can't believe I'm sitting here with nobody to bang the table and say, you're right. We can talk about other issues, but you're right.
I mean, I don't intend to speak for the witnesses Mr. Arrington, but I think that we're all concerned. I think that the witnesses have suggested that there may be additional answers, but I think everybody would preface their comments by saying we're all concerned about it.
And Mr. Chairman, I know my time's expired. As a person who lives at a state that is on the border and at ground zero, I'm telling you, we've got to do something about that. I know there are other complicating
Fair enough.
factors,
Yep.
but we've got to do something. And I'm
Fair enough.
very frustrated that we haven't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank the gentleman.